Welcome to the MamasteFit YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 different strategies that you can use to help modify your single leg exercises if you are experiencing any sort of pelvic pain. Hey, my name is Gina. I'm a perinatal fitness trainer, and I have been working with clients for almost a decade now to find relief from pelvic pain during their pregnancies and in their postpartums. You may have been led to believe that pelvic pain is just a part of pregnancy, it's a part of being a mom, and there's nothing that we can really do about it outside of giving birth and just hoping for the best. But the good news is there is a lot that we can do to find relief from pelvic pain, and we have an entire YouTube playlist that has workouts that you can do to find relief from pelvic pain, different educational episodes explaining why you might have pelvic pain, and then tons of strategies so you can move pain-free during pregnancy and after birth. In addition, you may have been told that if you experience any sort of pain with a movement that we should just completely omit it. But it's really hard to completely omit single leg exercises from our daily routine because walking is a single leg exercise. And so unless you're planning to hop from place to place, we need to figure out how we can strengthen ourselves in single leg movements so that we can maintain it both during pregnancy and in the postpartum. So the first thing that we can do is we can decrease overall movement and increase points of contact to help support us more in single leg exercises. So if you're doing walking lunges, so you're going from foot to foot, this is requiring you to stabilize in one leg and then put weight into the other leg, shift your weight, and then step. So that might be a little bit too much for your current stability. So you can just do a reverse lunge where I keep one leg stationary the whole time and just one leg is moving forward and backwards. But if that is still causing discomfort, we can continue to decrease overall movement by doing a split squat, and we have increased point of contact now. So we have 2 points of contact, but in an asymmetrical stance. So we can inhale to lower down, exhale to stand up. Another little thing that you can add into your lunges that can really help to improve your comfort is we can add a little bit of pelvic rotation as we go up and down. So as you lower in your lunge, we're going to think about bringing that opposite hip forward. So the pelvis is rotating on top of that femur. This internally rotated position with the pelvis can help to stabilize as well. And then exhale, you'll come to an open hip position. Now, if that asymmetrical stance is still causing discomfort, we can find a more even stance with like a squat, for example. And so now we have 2 points of contact in an even stance. And so this is the first strategy that you can use if you have discomfort or pain with single leg exercises. So we went from a walking lunge where we're shifting weight from leg to leg to a reverse lunge where we have 1 point of contact and just one foot is moving, to a split squat where we have 2 points of contact in an asymmetrical stance, which we can also add in some pelvic rotation for additional stability. And then we'll finish with more of an even stance, which can still help us to strengthen our legs, but we're doing it in a way that feels more comfortable for us. The second strategy is to find some more support with our movements. And so we can do this by adding some support to the bottom of the movements with like a box squat or a bench, or by increasing activation in the upper body by holding onto bands or some rings or a sturdy structure. This strategy is going to help to provide a little bit of support at the bottom of the movement if you feel like it's a little bit more uncomfortable there. So instead of doing a full-on lunge, maybe we do a B-stance squat or a staggered squat down to the box. If the staggered stance is not feeling great, maybe we just do a squat down to the box. And now we can also add in upper body activation as well by holding on to bands, rings, or even a sturdy structure. So holding on to like the power rack or a pole. With this strategy, I can still do my lunges or my split squat or even my squat movement, but I have a little bit more activation in the upper body to take some of that loading off the lower body. So the second strategy is to add more support with either support at the bottom with like a box or a bench, or some more activation and effort in the upper body to take some of the loading off the legs. And then the third strategy is to add some more activation. And so sometimes certain muscles are not firing as much as we need them to provide that pelvic stability. And so if we can add a little bit extra support and activation, this can sometimes be the key to finding relief from pelvic pain in single leg exercises. I've had clients that have come to me that have been really struggling with pelvic pain, and all we do is we add a band to the inner thigh, and so this helps to increase activation of the adductor muscle that runs right here. The adductor muscle plays a big role in pelvic stability and helping to support your pelvic floor, and so sometimes that little bit of activation there can help to relieve all your pelvic pain. And so with this movement, I have the band around the inside of the knee. So I'm resisting this pulling outward of the knee. I'm gonna think about keeping that knee stacked over that ankle. And then I can find my various lunges, either my split squat, I can do my reverse lunge, finding the level that feels accessible to you. But now I have a little bit of inner thigh activation, really helping my pelvis stay more stable. In this movement, we can also add in that pelvic rotation. So that opposite hip is coming forward as we lower for internal pelvic rotation, and then exhale, letting that hip open for some external pelvic rotation. Another thing is if we do move to that even stance, we can have one-sided activation to make it still a little bit of a unilateral movement, but with more of that even stance. So I'm doing my squats with a little bit of unilateral loading. So even though I have an even stance, I'm still strengthening a little bit more on one side. Another strategy is to use the foam roller for some activation, and this will really depend on how long of a foam roller you have. So we have some pretty long ones here in the gym. Most of them standard size are about half the length of this. And then same thing, I'm gonna drive the inside of my knee or thigh into the foam roller for that inner thigh activation, and then I can move through my lunges. With the foam roller, sometimes there's a little bit less movement that we can do because it kind of blocks our path, but this can be a great way for us to add a little bit of activation with something that's pretty sturdy. And the last way that we can add activation is to just squeeze something between the thighs. And so this is gonna be a little bit easier to do if we have an even stance. And so I can squeeze the block between the thighs so both inner thighs are really firing. To do my squats, I can even do a little bit more of a staggered stance movement while still really activating within the thighs. So there are a number of strategies that you can use to find relief from pelvic pain with movement. We don't have to completely omit the exercise. Sometimes we just have to find a slightly different variation so that we can continue to strengthen on one side in a way that doesn't cause us pain. The first thing that we can do is we can increase the point of contact, so how many feet are on the floor, while decreasing the overall movement. The less we're shifting weight from leg to leg, and the more that we're just kind of keeping our feet planted, the less discomfort that we may be experiencing with some of these movements. The next thing that we can add is some additional support. So we can squat down to a box, we can do a lunge to the box, or we can add some more activation to the upper body to decrease the loading on the legs. And the last strategy is to increase activation, particularly of the inner thighs or adductor muscles. And we can do this with some bands, with foam rollers, or with a block squeeze between the thighs. You can use all of these strategies or a combination of different ones to figure out how you can find relief from pelvic pain. And we have an entire program that walks you through all of these different variations, plus exercises that help to strengthen the glute musculature, to help strengthen and balance the pelvic floor, and to improve how well your pelvis can change positions so that you can finally find relief from pelvic pain during pregnancy and beyond. You can check out all of our fitness programs on our website at MamasteFit.com and use code YouTube10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings. And it is so important to continue to exercise even during pregnancy with pelvic pain. We might just need to find a variation that feels better for you.